Salutations, everyone, and welcome to a very special edition of PTV FC. It's been quite a long time since we've all got together and hopped on a podcast, but we have a few changes to announce. First off, welcome to Season 2. Guys, we made it. This is Episode 1 of Season 2, kicking things off right. Now, as you could probably tell, though, the original gang is together, back talking football, but this isn't any old episode. This unique show will be sort of a passing the torch between the original members of PTV FC and some new members. We have the man, the myth, the legend, gone but not forgotten, blissing us all right now, Jimmy Bliss in this ish. He is here. He's graduated from Seton Hall, but he's back talking about soccer. We love to see it. We also have the menace, the gargoyle, the Bishop Sycamore man, the man of many nicknames. Ryan Johnston is also back talking about Arsenal and probably going to be gloating about Arsenal a little bit as well. And our newest addition to the podcast, a guy who's here to stay. He's the man, Graham Marshman. He's a freshman. He's a prodigy, up-and-coming freshman. And he is here to talk about Chelsea. As you can see, he's got the perfect backdrop already to go. So he came prepared here on this podcast and this episode. But before we say farewell to Ryan and Jimmy, as they won't be on the podcast anymore after this episode, they will not be considered regulars, which, right, Jimmy, it kind of brings a little tear to my eye, all the memories that we've done, all the good talks that we've had here on PTVFC. But for now, we can put that aside and have one last good episode of talking about football. I can't wait. The Premier League is in full swing, and we're about to start talking about it. So, without further ado, for one last time, boys, how are we doing? And Jimmy, I'll start with you.
I'm doing good, Louie. I'm excited to see this podcast live on, even though I graduated in May and now I'm 23. I'm the old man of the bunch, but I'm happy to see that this can live on and hopefully it can be as good as it was just a year ago.
Yeah, it's weird saying goodbye to the podcast. Hopefully I still stick around a little bit, come around every once in a while, but I won't be on every episode anymore. You're spinning some bars in that intro, though. I'm not gonna lie. I'm impressed you got that off in one take. So yeah, it's sure to be a fun episode. I got a lot to talk about.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the first episode of PTV FC. My name is Jimmy Bliss, and I'm joined by a great duo of analysts, Ryan Johnston and Louie Pasculli. Guys, how are you two doing today?
I'm doing great, Jimmy. Thank you for asking. Happy to start off this show, and hopefully we can get underway with no problems and everything will be good. It's going to be fun.
I'm doing really well, too. I'm really excited for this show. I love soccer, and I'm really excited to talk about it with you guys.
I'm doing great. I'm really excited. Really wish I could have worked more with Ryan and Jimmy, but me and Lewis here, I'm going to be able to take over things here, and I'm super excited to get started. Great passion of mine, and I'm just glad I get to work with you guys on this. Super excited.
Absolutely, and I am excited as well. Now, we resume this podcast on Premier League Match Week 10, and guess who's at the table? Ryan's favorite team, Arsenal, is atop the table, but only by 1 point as Manchester City trail them. They're very close. Tottenham is now in third place with 3 points. Chelsea is in fourth place at 16 total points. And then Manchester United is chilling in fifth, and Newcastle rounds out the top 6 of the Premier League. So, Ryan, you're living high right now. We'll start with you. Top of the table, what do you have to say about it?
Oh man. It's been a long time since I felt this excited about Arsenal football, Arsenal soccer, whatever you want to call it. Mikel Arteta, he's a magician. He's rejuvenated this squad. Gabriel Jesus, phenomenal signing. Jimmy, I know you're not a fan of him because you were kind of, disparaging his name when we signed him. I posted that I was excited about it, and you said he's not like that. Well, guess what? He's quite clearly like that. He is that guy. All right, let me tell you, he is phenomenal. We've been playing phenomenal all season long. Big wins past couple of weeks. Tottenham just beat Liverpool. Come on. I know they're struggling a little bit right now, but we just beat Liverpool. All right, that's a huge win, and no one can tell me otherwise either. I'm super high on this team right now. Aaron Ramsdale, phenomenal goalkeeper. A bunch of just great role players too. I think this squad is gelling better right now than it has in the past decade. So very, very excited for this team. I know it's early, but they're giving me high hopes.
Yeah, I do have to start off by saying, yes, I was a little bit wrong on Gabriel Jesus. I didn't think it was going to be this easy for him this quickly because with Manchester City, we saw him be very good in a very, very good attacking line. You had guys like Riyad Mahrez, Phil Foden, Kevin De Bruyne feeding him the ball. And of course, you're going to be successful when you have those guys feeding you the ball on a week-to-week basis. And now you're transitioning to what I thought was going to be a worse attacking line with guys like Bukayo Saka and Gabriel Martinelli, but they've been very good as well. I have to say, 5 goals and 9 appearances in the Premier League is very, very good. I'm still hesitant to crown this Arsenal team as one of the best in the league thus far. I mean, they played very well, and against Liverpool, I was impressed by them, but they do have that one blemish from my boys, Man United. That was a fantastic game.
Fraudulent game. VAR saved you.
Yeah, of course you would say that. It's not like your players just didn't score enough and that your defense just stunk in that game. You just have to blame the refs, but it is what it is.
It is what it is, because that's how it went. VAR. It's all right. Varchester United, and it's okay. You can admit it.
No, yeah, you're right. Barchester United. That's the reason why Man United won 3-1. Is absolutely because of VAR. It wasn't because Anthony Martial, who didn't play, but Anthony, the right winger, he scored on his debut. It wasn't because Marcus Rashford had his best game in a few years in a Man United kit, scoring 2 goals and showing how fraudulent the Arsenal defense is. And I know you were missing Thomas Partey. Thomas Partey is a fantastic defensive midfielder, but Granit Xhaka has played pretty well this year. I thought he was going to do a little bit better. But their midfield, their Arsenal, they played pretty well, not quite good enough to contain Eriksen, McTominay, and Bruno Fernandes. But let's just stop talking about this game because I know it's just going to make Ryan more upset about
it's our only loss. We're 8-0-1. Like, it's literally our only loss so far this year. And if you want to harp on it, go ahead, be my guest. But it's literally the only thing that you can harp on. You have nothing else to talk about. It's literally the only thing.
That's relegation fodder. All the teams that you've played are terrible, apart from Tottenham. That's a good win. Tottenham's a good win. I'll give you that. Liverpool is a good win. But the other 7 teams you've played are not good. Good job. You beat Crystal Palace. Good job. You beat Aston Villa. Bournemouth. Okay.
Guess what, Jimmy? Guess what? Last year, we would have drawn against those teams. Okay? I have a right to be excited. Last year, we wouldn't have won. Tell me I'm wrong.
I think you have a point there, but I don't think we should be popping the champagne bottles over beating these terrible teams. I mean, we saw Bournemouth lose 9-0 to Liverpool, and you're celebrating like you won the league over beating them.
Hold on. Graham, what do you have to say about the state of Arsenal right now?
I think Arsenal, very good team. They are extremely well drilled by Mikel Arteta now that he's finally been able to get the players he wants into the team. They're really gelling, really working together. But I think one major injury to that team, it all falls apart. They don't have the bench. Sure, they brought in Zinchenko, even though they still have Tierney, who's probably a better left back in my opinion. But they bring in Zinchenko, they bring in Jesus, great forward. But Jesus gets injured, Saka gets injured, Martinelli gets injured. Who did they bring in to replace that front 3? Who do they bring in? Who are the guys coming off the bench to help them score goals?
Nketiah is great.
Nketiah had one good game last year against Chelsea, and that was he had only scored 1 goal before that last season, I believe.
According to you, Chelsea's a great team. So
last year we struggled a lot. Nketiah's promising. He's a promising young player, but I don't think he's Premier League ready right now to come into a team like Arsenal and help them win a Premier League. I really don't. Coming off the bench, maybe. Starting, if one of those players in the front 3 get hurt, definitely not a chance. And your backup center backs, I can't even name one off the top of my head that would come off and help contribute to that Arsenal team.
Rob Holding, right there.
Rob Holding. Oh my God. Delusional. Come on, Ryan.
What do you mean,
That's just
dude?
delusional.
He's a solid backup. He's a solid backup. You can't say we have no depth and Rob Holding is our backup.
Again, he's a solid backup to come off the bench. If you lose Gabriel, you're going to start Rob Holding.
Exactly. He fills in there. That's what a backup is. He's solid. He does his job when he comes in.
Okay. I just think that Arsenal, personally, in my opinion, their lack of squad depth is what's going to prevent them from winning the Premier League, especially with the amount of games that are going to be coming in coming up during the winter and World Cup. So that's my opinion.
I think I would have to agree a little bit there. Arsenal certainly could use more squad depth. I mean, maybe we'll see in that January transfer window them make some moves in order to get some guys that can really help them in terms of squad depth. But I think if they can overcome that and we don't see any big injuries from Arsenal, then I genuinely believe they could be competing for a title. I might be a little bit on my high horse. I'm sure, yeah, Ryan Johnston's giving me a fist pump. He likes that. But if they keep playing the way they are, I mean, they're playing awesome. But like, yes, they lost to Man United, but aside from that, they've been playing really, really well. I was gonna talk about them and Manchester City. Now, no, there's no question that Manchester City has more talent. I'd say like pure talent than Arsenal does. But Arsenal just needs to play together and play as a unit, and I think that they've done a good job of that so far. I didn't know how they would do with all of the new transfers, as you guys have mentioned, but I mean, they've done a good job so far. And if they can continue with that kind of form, I think that it'll be, no one would believe that at the beginning of the season, but I mean, except for maybe Ryan. But I think that we genuinely could see. No, he's shaking his head. No, he
No,
probably wouldn't believe himself.
I didn't believe that we would be this good. I mean, I thought we were going to be better. I didn't think we were going to be this good.
And I mean, you called it on a previous PTV FC. You said the no European competition will help, and I guess it's helping a lot. So I'll give you that one. I'm gonna have to go back and find that clip and put it in a video sometime. No, I genuinely think it's going to be a good battle down the stretch. I mean, there's a chance that Manchester City pulls away because of how good they are. I mean, like, let's be real, they have some of the best quality players in the world. So I would not be surprised if that happens. But assuming that they're not like otherworldly, I think a team that could challenge them will be Arsenal. So that's my take on all that. But fair criticisms as well for Arsenal. So we were going to go over the good teams, but it was kind of just an Arsenal battle in that first segment. But moving on to the next segment, I want to talk about the teams that could get relegated. So right now, the bottom of the table is Leicester City, which honestly is very sad. They're currently at the bottom with 4 points. And the Nottingham Forest is currently second with only 5 points. And then Wolves with 6 points. Southampton is currently safe, 16th with 7 points, but again, very close to being relegated. And then there are 3 teams tied with 9 points just above that. So I know it's early in the season. It'll be really interesting to see what teams get relegated, what teams are able to stay. And I personally think that some relegation battles provide the best football matches because there's very few flopping, very few amount of flopping. It's very physical. It's really fun to watch, in my opinion. So I'll let you guys have the floor and talk to me about what you think will happen with these bottom teams. Jimmy, I'll start with you, and then we'll go to Graham.
Now, I'll be the first to admit that I didn't see Leicester City struggling this much this early into the season. I mean, they look like a completely different team than they did just 12 months ago. Even though they have James Maddison on their team, Jamie Vardy looks like he's old. Pascal Daka hasn't been that great so far. Kalani Iheanacho had a few good months with Leicester earlier in his career, but since then has kind of tailed off. Harvey Barnes has almost been a shell of himself as well. That attacking team is so bad right now. I think that Leicester team is in a very, very big hole. They're in a lot of trouble right now. And if I am the Leicester board, you have to get rid of Brandon Rodgers sooner rather than later before you fall even further behind some of these guys. I think Nottingham Forest, unfortunately, they're going to get relegated. They did sign something like 22 players this window, but it seems like they're just not quite gelling. Maybe after the World Cup will be a little bit of a different story, but for now, I just don't see it happening with them. Wolves, same deal. I think Ruben Neves is going to leave them in January, so Wolves can get a little bit out of them before he can leave for free in just a few months. So I think that Wolves and Forest are definitely going down. As far as Leicester, I'm not going to quite say they go down yet. I think they have a little bit too much talent. I think they're going to be like West Ham a few years ago where they have a really, really bad year, but they're just going to stick around and then they'll be a little bit better. So I'm going to pick it to be Wolves, Forest, and Aston Villa to go down. I have not been impressed with Villa quite at all. This season, McGinn has been terrible. Their goalkeeper Martinez has been on a downward slope over the past 2 seasons. I just haven't seen enough from them, and I'm not convinced with Steven Gerrard as a manager. I'm not going to pick what order I think those bottom 3 are going to come in because it's just so hard to tell right now, just 7 weeks into the year. But I think Villa, Wolves, and Forest are the 3 going down the championship.
I mean, I gotta agree a lot with Jimmy there. Leicester, terrible start to the season. My biggest thing is I think Brandon Rodgers is the problem. He's known to have these kind of bits and spouts, especially when he was at Liverpool. This was a big thing. I think sacking Brandon Rodgers, bringing in a new guy, definitely will inspire the guys to at least put some better form in and try to at least impress the new manager. And maybe they can find some form here and get a run toward the midseason coming up. But I don't think Leicester will go down. I think they'll find some form eventually, but they need to sack Brandon Rodgers. Forest, everybody was excited. They brought in Jesse Lingard, whatever you want to call him. Everybody was excited about it. People were thinking he was going back to West Ham, but God, they cannot find a way to defend. They're at negative 15 goal differential. They just cannot keep the ball out of their own net. Bringing in the 22 guys, which I thought was kind of ridiculous because the guys that got you to the Prem, they don't play them anymore. They bring in this whole new squad pretty much, and now they're just not the team they were last year in the championship that everybody was getting really excited about coming to the Prem. And I think it's bad business for Nottingham Forest, and I have a feeling they're probably going to go down. They just can't find a way to stop goals. Wolves' biggest problem this year is injuries. They lost Jimenez, that striker. I forget his name, but they brought in a striker. They lost him, and they had to just bring in Diego Costa, who against Chelsea looked like a husk of a person. He can barely move out there anymore. Got a standing ovation and everything, but he's got to find match fitness because he looked terrible out there. He just looked old and rugged. And if that's going to be their starting striker, there's no way Wolves is staying up this year, especially with Neves leaving them. There's no way, no possible way. And I definitely think Aston Villa is the one going down. Steven Gerrard is a fraud. I will say it all day. Frank Lampard is 100% a better manager by a long shot. Steven Gerrard, he's going down. He can't coach this team. They just look. Their build-up play is horrible. They can't defend. Martinez had a good spout in Copa America, but now all of a sudden he just doesn't look like the number one choice goalkeeper for a Prem team. And I'm very disappointed with Aston Villa. Like Coutinho's not picking up form. It's very, very downhill for Villa, I think, in the future. So I'm going to say last place will be Nottingham Forest, 20th. 19th, Wolves. 18th will be Aston Villa.
Yeah, I think Leicester's a bit too talented to go down. I know that their players aren't exactly performing up to their standards right now, but at the same time, they've had a really, really tough schedule to start the year. I mean, you're talking about Tottenham, Man United, Chelsea, and Arsenal. Like, that's that's four of the top five teams right there, right? Like, that's not going to continue throughout the year. And they just whooped Nottingham Forest a couple weeks ago, 4-0. So when they're on their day, they're certainly a dangerous team to be reckoned with, especially against some of these relegation contenders, quite frankly. So I don't think that they're going to go down. I'm with you, though. I'm going to keep it brief because you guys basically mentioned what I wanted to talk about. So I think that Nottingham Forest definitely goes down. And I could see Wolves going down to and either Aston Villa, maybe Southampton in that relegation battle. But I think Leicester steers clear. I think they pick up the pace as the season goes on. But sacking Brendan Rodgers would definitely not be the worst move for them just to regain some momentum, really.
And I also agree with what you guys said. I kind of am taking a liking to Nottingham Forest because my high school was named Nottingham. So I'm like, oh, that makes sense. I should root for them. And then now they're like going to get relegated. So I hope they don't. But I agree. I think that they very well might get relegated, which would be kind of sad to see, honestly. And you guys are right. Defending is a real challenge for Nottingham Forest. I was able to watch a game. I think it was the one single game they won where the goal that went in just looked like weird and like a FIFA goal. Honestly, it bounced off a few players, then somehow found the back of the net. But anyway, I think that it very well could be Nottingham Forest we see go down. Leeds is down there as well. We didn't talk about Leeds, but I think that they defend well enough that they stay up, and that's like their thing is that they're able to stay in games against the big clubs and hang around, whether it be by one goal. Or they can even grab a goal and then maybe tie it up. So I think Leeds will be up. But yeah, like you guys said, it could be Wolves. It could be right. And Jimmy just sent a text that the United States players play for Leeds, which is true. We do have some U.S. players on Leeds. So that's great. But yeah, like you said, Wolves, Nottingham Forest, Leicester will stay up, and then who was the other one? The other one was I think we didn't talk about Crystal Palace. I enjoy watching Crystal Palace play as well. I don't think that they're going to go down this year. I like Patrick Vieira as a manager too. I think he's done a good job. I mean, he doesn't really have the results to show for it, but goal differential of only -2, that's not really that bad. I think they will stay up, and we could see Aston Villa go down, which would be kind of sad because I also like them a little bit as well. But nonetheless, we have to move on, and we're going to talk about a more fun topic now. And once I say it, all the viewers at home will definitely know how I view it. So we have to talk about the sensation that's absolutely lighting the Premier League on fire, and that is the legend. Oh, I'm getting bad looks from Graham. This isn't good already. But our Erling Haaland, right? He scored 15 goals in 9 matches, 3 consecutive home hatties. Plus, he also has 5 goals in 3 Champions League matches. So here's the easiest question of all time. At the ripe age of 22, is Erling Haaland the greatest player of all time? Graham, we'll start with you.
No.
Darn.
If you want me to go into detail, I will, but it's 100. If you say yes to that question, you are just disrespecting football as a sport. All of the great players that have played this sport, you are just throwing their names out the window. Like, is he the greatest player of all time? How could you say that when Messi and Ronaldo are still playing? You can't say that while they're still in their careers and still playing some of the best football they've ever played, except for Ronaldo right now. He just can't get game time from Ten Hag. I don't understand
Jimmy.
that, but
That's unfortunate.
It's okay. He's not really a team player. He wants to leave anyway, and the team looks better without him. So good riddance, Ronaldo.
Wow. He scored a goal recently. Didn't he score a goal recently?
He did.
He scored in his last game.
Yeah.
Nicely taken goal against Everton. That was the match winner. But I mean, if he doesn't want to be here, let him go. If he doesn't want to play for the badge, walk out that door. Goodbye.
You know who wants to play for the
badge?
What's that, Ryan?
That's a change of heart. You were so excited when Ronaldo came.
A little bit after I woke up because Manchester United were making a lot of progress. And that was honestly one of the best sports days of my life, seeing Ronaldo come back to Manchester United. I shed a few tears of joy reading that when I saw that it was reported Cristiano Ronaldo came back to Manchester United. I was very excited to see. The thing is about me, I've never been a Ronaldo fanboy. But when he did come to Man U, I became a big fan because obviously he's Ronaldo. He's one of the greatest of all time, and he's the leading men's scorer of all time. So when you get someone like that, even if you're not the biggest fan of him, he's going to score your goals. But toward the end of last season, especially during the summer when it came out that he doesn't want to be here, he's doing everything in his power to have personal leaves because he doesn't want to play for Man United under Ten Hag because Ten Hag isn't just going to succumb to everything that Ronaldo wants. At that point, you're Man United. You can get another striker that wants to play for the club. And okay, maybe they might not be as good as Ronaldo is right now, but the team looks a lot more free-flowing when Martial's up top or Rashford's up top than Ronaldo. Ronaldo would just sit on the offside line, and he would just look to head the ball into the back of the net. And when he was with Real Madrid, that was good enough because Real Madrid dominated possession. With Man United, they don't dominate possession. It wasn't really working out for him there. So as much as I like the player that Ronaldo is, I don't like the man as much. And if he doesn't want to be here, get him out.
That's fair. You talked about a player who wants to play for his badge, or maybe in Ronaldo's case, doesn't want to play for his badge. You know, a player who does want to play for his badge? Erling Haaland. Oh man, he was a star at Borussia Dortmund, and then of course his buyout clause was bought, rightfully so. I mean, he's the greatest young player in the world, and then he went on to Manchester City, and now is absolutely balling at Manchester City.
One last hot take, and that is Louie's hot take, and this hot take is Erling Braut Haaland will be the best player in the world within the next 3 to 4 years. So, Louie, please let us know what's going on in your head.
I'm happy to let you know what's going on. And you guys want to talk about technically gifted? Look up any video of Erling Haaland. This is a guy who scored 9 goals in a U17 team for the Norwegian national team, a U17 game for the Norwegian national team. He's an absolute monster. He's, 21 years old. He obviously plays for Borussia Dortmund, which is one of the biggest clubs in Germany. He's a wonder boy. He has all the potential in the world. It's going to be him and Mbappe battling for who's going to be the best player over the next 10 years or so. I love watching him play. This is a guy who I think, regardless of where he goes, he's going to have an immediate impact. There's a few names out there. He could go to Real Madrid. He could go to Manchester United. I don't really know where he's going to go. I'm going to be sad to see him leave, I can tell you that. But wherever he goes, he's going to have an immediate impact, and I think he has the potential to be the best player in the world.
So, Graham, you're right. It's way too early to say that he's the greatest player of all time.
It's
However, he has more goals than Ronaldo did in Ronaldo's magical season and Messi at this point in time thus far. When Messi's season was crazy. Also, we're not that one single season Erling Haaland will never beat. That's just my opinion. But aside from that, he is on pace. He's certainly on pace to be up there with the footballing greats.
It is a fair statement to say that to call him the greatest young talent currently. He up there, him and Mbappe are the only two that are up there. They're in a league of their own when it comes to young players. But Erling Haaland, Louis, would have to score 45 more goals for the next 19 seasons, 45 goals a season for 19 seasons just to catch Ronaldo 700 that he's at right now, club goals and international goals. He would have to play 19 more seasons at a 45 goal per season rate. I don't think he can do that. I don't think Erling Haaland down the road will be able to score 45 goals every season till he's 38 years old. It's almost impossible because Ronaldo is just on that different level and Messi they're on that different level. I just don't think it's possible for him, but especially since he doesn't get the international looks that those other two guys will because he plays for Norway, and it's just unfortunate, but that's how it is. Don't think it's possible for him though.
No, you bring up fair points, and I will admit it. It definitely is certainly too early to declare Haaland as the greatest player of all time. But me as a Dortmund fan, I love to get excited, even though he's not on the team anymore. I'd love if we could keep him, but that's not really Dortmund's way. So yeah, I will say though, calling him the best young talent right now is an understatement because I think personally, clearing away is now show that he's better than Mbappe, playing in a much more challenging league, and also not causing club drama with now being the president and then now wanting out of the club, all that all that extracurricular stuff. No, this dude cares about football. That's it. He just wants to play and score goals. Like I am Haaland, I score. That's it. That's all he wants to do. So that part I love about him. And on pace now, I think he very well. You're right. He probably won't keep up a 45 goal pace. However, I will say, talk about national team. He did score 9 goals in one national team match with Norway at the age of 17. I think it was 17, maybe 16. So who knows? Maybe he can keep up the crazy goal scoring pace. Ryan, I'm gonna let you talk on this. I don't think you've said your 2 cents yet. I want to hear what you have to say.
There we go. Yeah, definitely not the best player of all time, but realistically, with the mark that he's made early, I don't think it's that much of a stretch to say that he could be the best player in the Premier League right now. The only player that I think is consistently above him would maybe be his teammate Kevin De Bruyne, and that's just because he's facilitating most of Haaland's goals. So yeah, 15 goals is ridiculous. Like he is absolutely nuts. And the fact that he's even being considered for the best player in the Premier League right now just shows what a ridiculous form he's in, right? Like I don't know. That obviously is not the greatest player of all time because that's Lionel Messi, and I will maybe not die on that hill, but I will stand on that hill for quite some time. And Erling Haaland, he's got a long ways to go for that. Just to be sure, but he's certainly on the right path. I mean, especially if Man City, if he can bring Man City to a contender internationally in the Champions League, because that's where they have been notoriously bad over the past few years. They finally got that front man after Sergio Aguero left. I mean, who knows? Maybe it's their year.
I got a question for you, Ryan. Do you think Erling Haaland will take over the consensus best player in the Premier League of all time, Thierry Henry, as an Arsenal fan? Because most people, you ask them who's the best Premier League player of all time, 9 out of 10 will say Thierry Henry. Will he surpass Thierry Henry as the best Premier League player of all time?
That's a great question.
I don't think he's going to stay in the Premier League long enough, to be honest with you. I think he'll move to Spain most likely. I see him in a Real Madrid jersey in 5-7 years. So no, because of that. But who knows? I mean, he's not going to keep up this pace forever. But if he keeps up some semblance of it, and he stays with Man City for however many years, I mean, it would be hard to deny. To be honest with you.
Yeah. Well, Real Madrid have prepared a $200 million bid. They're preparing for 2025 to try to get Erling Haaland. We'll see how that goes. He got 2 years till then, but I could definitely see him playing for Real Madrid. A lot of players like to do that for some odd reason, even though the Prem is the best league in the world. I don't get it, but people like them. Historic
I guess you
clubs.
get a lot of clout for playing for Real Madrid in La Liga. But nonetheless, I'm happy we were able to have some discourse about my guy, one of my favorite players of all time, Erling Haaland. But now we're going to move on to some way too early champions predictions. Like I said, I know it's early in the season, but we got to get some predictions going. So right now, Arsenal is at the top of the table, as we talked about. But Man City have Erling Haaland, as we also just talked about. And, of course, Kevin De Bruyne, who is probably the best midfielder in the world. And by probably, I mean definitely. So Ryan, I'll start with you again because this is kind of a topic that would go in your vicinity or something that you would probably mostly want to talk about. So who do you think, Ryan will go first and then we'll go to Jimmy. Who do you think will finish the Premier League number one, win the championship when it's all said and done?
I mean, nah, I can't say Arsenal. You know, I would love to. I would very much love to, and I believe that we are a top 3 team in the Premier League right now. And the fan in me wants to say Arsenal so badly, but I've seen this happen before, where we've started off very hot and we have fallen off later in the year. And quite frankly, I wouldn't be surprised if it happened again. I think we're a bit too young, a bit too fresh. I think City has the experience, and just Erling Haaland also. So I think that they will end up winning the Premier League realistically, but it's really hard to go against my guys. I'm not gonna lie. I want to say Arsenal so badly, but if you're betting on it, I would bet Man City realistically.
Then who's second in your opinion? Because we might all very well say Man City. But so who do you think will be second?
I mean, we've got a great shot, man. I think it's either us or Chelsea, and I don't think Man United's gonna end up close. Quite frankly, I think it's Arsenal and Chelsea, and I just want Champions League football again. So I'd be happy with a third place finish, but shoot for the stars. So who knows? Arsenal finishes first. Why not? You know, Arsenal finishes first.
Yeah, I got to piggyback off of that, Ryan. I think Man City is the class of the Premier League. They showed it over the past 2 seasons, and I think with the addition of Erling Haaland, the one player that they were lacking was a clinical goal scorer, and they finally have him, and we see he's on pace for 60-something goals in the Premier League. Obviously, he's not going to hit 60-something goals and double the goal-scoring record, but still, 15 goals within your first 9 games as a Premier League player, that's absurd. I just think that the squad depth that City has is second to absolutely none in the league. And especially with the Premier League having 5 substitutes this season, even if the team is tied with Man City, let's say through like 70 minutes or so, you can look over to the bench and see Pep Guardiola put out Riyad Mahrez into the midfield, into the wing. You could put Gundogan in the midfield, Riyad Mahrez as well. Guys like that these other teams don't even have anyone close to on their team. And Man City has the luxury of just bringing them on off of their bench late on into the game to make these differences. With the squad depth that Man City has, with their goalkeeping situation, defense being very, very good, and of course Haaland being one of the best players in the world, it's got to be Man City coming in first. And I do think, like Ryan, Chelsea's going to come in second. I see Graham Potter turning this around a little bit. And I know that they don't have that many clinical players, Chelsea. Aubameyang looked good today. Aubameyang, I think, will be good for at least the rest of the season, but they might need to bring someone in the summer. I feel like Chelsea is turning this thing around. They'll be second. And Arsenal, maybe third, maybe fourth. I haven't thought that far into it, but if I'm going to say anything right now, probably fourth, because Arsenal always used to turn in fourth. And I would put Tottenham in third. Man City in fifth, Man U in fifth, and then we'll see. But it's an early prediction. I don't think Arsenal is for real. I think they're going to fall off at some point.
Hater alert. Hater alert, boo. Hater alert.
Well, it's my last episode, Ryan. I gotta go out with how I've been on this show. And Arsenal, I'm sorry to say it, but I don't know how good they're gonna do in this October with 9 games.
City's going to win it. No doubt in my mind, City's going to win it because they won it the last 2 years, way above everybody else, not a chance for anyone, without a 9. They won it without a 9, a true 9, and now they have what's looking like one of the best 9s in the world right now in Erling Haaland, 3 hat tricks in 8 games, already broke the record by 40 games, I believe. He's insane. And this City team is so deep. The people feeding them, it's not a contest. Second for me would definitely be Chelsea. When under Thomas Tuchel, we were not clinical whatsoever. Our build-up play was slow, monotonous. It was very hard to watch sometimes. But Graham Potter has come in and transformed this Chelsea team. We look sharp. We look agile. We look like we're ready to beat any team that we come up against. And with Aubameyang, I definitely like to see him finish out the season, and we've already agreed to a medical and are looking to buy out Christopher Nkunku from RB Leipzig, which is a really exciting thing to see. Don't know if it's going to happen yet. A lot of business. That's all the way next summer, but we'll see. I'm definitely excited, and I think Arsenal will round out the bottom at 4th. I couldn't tell you who's going to come in 3rd, either Tottenham or I think United could make a run if they find better form. Or Newcastle. Newcastle has surprised me this year. They're looking very sharp. I'm very surprised with Newcastle, but I definitely think Arsenal will round it out at 4th, and I'll say for right now Tottenham at 3rd, even though they haven't played very good football in the last 4 or 5 games.
Ryan, I'm with you. I got Arsenal at 2nd. That's what I'm going to go with.
Disrespect is crazy, Louie. The disrespect is crazy.
They were really coming at you the whole episode. But
I gave my reasons.
Yeah, no,
Arsenal's
it's fair.
not finishing.
It's fair.
What you said is pretty valid.
It's very valid.
But yet, they play relegation fodder, and Ryan thinks they're going to win the league.
Bro, is Tottenham relegation fodder? Is Liverpool relegation fodder? You guys are ridiculous. You're ridiculous.
The table right now, I wouldn't exactly call that a big win.
What?
Liverpool's in 10th on the table right now. I wouldn't call that a big win.
It's Liverpool, man. It's literally Liverpool. You know what? You're a hater, Jimmy. I'll chalk it up to you. You're being a hater, and that's all right.
Liverpool's defense have been absolutely atrocious this year. Trent Alexander-Arnold is a fraud. Reece James is the best right back in the world. What's Ben White going to do at right back against someone like Raheem Sterling? There's a lot of things you could go over, and I just don't think Arsenal can keep the amazing form that they have going. It's great to see that they're doing well because it brings more competitiveness to the league and everything. I love to see that, but I do not think that they can keep this run of form. Any major injuries, they're dropping form and they're going to drop points and either round out the bottom.
Raheem Sterling. Like, I'm worried about Raheem Sterling. Come on, bro. He's not even a thought in my mind. They take a look at that City team. Raheem Sterling is nowhere near a thought in my mind. Come on.
Raheem Sterling's on Chelsea.
Raheem Sterling.
Oh, he is on Chelsea. Oh, I forgot he transferred.
This Arsenal team. He walks into this Arsenal team.
Stop.
Raheem Sterling walks in right above Martinelli. Kick him out of here. He's overrated. I can't talk about it,
bro. It's no Chelsea party when Thomas Partey's out there. All right, let me just put it like that.
He's a good center defensive mid.
Yes, you can't even say anything about
He's
it.
He's a good center defensive mid, but he's not a N'Golo Kante or he's not. I wouldn't even put him on Mateo Kovacic's level.
Not even like that anymore. Let's be real.
He's not, but I wouldn't put him on the same level as Mateo Kovacic. Mateo Kovacic is one of the best ball carriers in the Premier League. You watch a Chelsea game, you see that. Jorginho still has that passing ability that got him that 3rd place in the Ballon d'Or that one year for some reason. Couldn't tell you why. I was just surprised, but I don't put Thomas Partey up there. Now, Martin Odegaard, you can make a case for him. He's very, very good player.
But Jimmy, real quick before you wrap up, I think we're forgetting someone for best player in the world.
Oh, I know where he's going.
Martin Odegaard, come on, the Arsenal, he's definitely up there. Come on. I know you're feeling it, Louie.
I'm going to act like I didn't hear that.
I know you're feeling it.
No.
Yeah, I'm just going to pretend I didn't hear that, and we're going to wrap up on that note.
Again, he goes down. Who's gonna step in? Makonga. Like, who's going to step in to that
I don't mind
Arsenal team and
Makonga.
replace him?
Makonga's solid.
Makonga's terrible.
Stop. You're not terrible. You're just saying that because you're a Chelsea fan.
My job to hate on you.
Yeah, you can hate on us. It's okay. You can hate on our success, but at least admit that you're hating.
I don't think I'm hating that much.
Well, I guess we're just going to have to see how the Premier League plays out. And that means you're going to have to tune back in for more PTV FCs to get more arguments like these. But even though I said arguments like these, it will be between myself and Graham, as he will be the one passing the torch. So that will wrap it up for this episode of PTV FC. Now, don't get me wrong, you boys, Jimmy, Ryan, are always welcome to come back, talk some footy on the pod. Our arms will always be open. But this is the last time you guys are going to be considered regulars on the podcast. So I'm going to give you a chance to say any final words before we bid you adieu for good. Ryan, we'll start with you and then go to Jimmy.
Yeah, man, it's weird saying goodbye. Thank you to Cooper and Mateus for recording with us for, I think, every episode. Thank you to Jimmy, the Bliss man, for inviting me on the podcast in winter of my freshman year. It's weird. It's been almost 2 years since we started the podcast. So we took a bit of a hiatus from November to last year until now, but I'm glad that it's coming back. And I know we're leaving it in very capable hands with Graham. Although he's a bit of an Arsenal hater,
I'll keep him in check.
Thank you. I appreciate that, Louie. You've got to be objective because you're a big Borussia Dortmund guy, so you got to be objective when looking at Arsenal. And hopefully I come back around every once in a while and give my 2 cents. So, yeah.
Yeah, it's been a fantastic 18 months here. I was stuck in quarantine in January of 2021 when I thought of this idea. I texted Ben Harris, who was the creative director of PTV, just at that time saying, hey, could I start a soccer podcast with my friend Louie? And he was like, oh, yeah, of course, we could do that. So I had Louie at first, and then I saw Ryan wrote a few articles for our radio station about Arsenal, and I thought he would be a great addition. I wasn't that close with Ryan at that point, but we got very close very quickly over this podcast, and the three of us have grown to very, very big friends since then. And I can just say it's been a fantastic ride from our first topic talking about the firing of Frank Lampard of Chelsea to now. It's just been so much fun talking footy with the two of you. And Graham, I know we have capable hands with you taking the reins, and I'm glad that we're not giving the podcast to a Liverpool fan. I am very, very relieved about that. But yeah, all the best to you two guys, and may PTV FC live on in infamy.
Gosh, Jimmy, you're going to make me cry over here, man. But you're right. We will be living on PTV FC forever. It's never going away. But as for this episode, we will be going away, unfortunately. So, Jimmy, Ryan, one last salute. Appreciate you guys taking time out of your day to come on this one last podcast. Graham, I'll also be seeing you a lot more in the future. That will do it for this episode. The first one of season 2 is now complete. Thank you for watching, and we will see you next time.
Tottenham has completely fallen off since their start of their form this season. They started hot, and now they've completely fallen off.
All right, let's save this for the episode because we can both flame Ryan.
Oh, Ryan, I'll come to your defense. I like watching Arsenal play.